But hello, everybody. On that note, welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. My name's Emma, and I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host Marcie.
Hello.
Well, we've made it. Game 82.
We've done it.
We've gotten through the regular season.
Somehow.
Almost. The final games for a bunch of Western Conference teams are tonight. But in terms of the Leafs and in terms of Eastern Conference teams, we are done. Teams have already done their locker cleanout interviews, their exit media availability. That was today and yesterday for the New Jersey Devils. But the Leafs are not done yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Go into the playoffs. And I thought instead of recapping the last two games, because they honestly meant absolutely nothing.
And also I think it'd be better for our mental health to not think about them.
Instead of recapping those individual two games, I thought we would do a full, and this is something I should have told Marcie about beforehand, instead of springing it on her as we're recording. Do a full Leaf season retroactive and look back at the overall regular season as a whole before we go into the playoffs.
Okay.
I should have told you about this beforehand, but I was writing up my notes and I was like, it's fine.
It's not fine, Emma. You just love springing things on me. Do you get enjoyment out of just the panic in my eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like pop quiz. It's like a pop quiz. Oh, I would be an awful teacher.
Yeah, you would. You'd be like, oh, surprise, guys, this exam counts for your entire grade.
Okay, well, this doesn't count for our entire grade. This is just us. I have a whole list written out as things we could bounce off of and talk about.
Okay.
I think we'll manage. The first thing I have written down here is Austin Matthews' 69 goal season, which,
nice.
Yes, he didn't get 70, but it's still awfully impressive to score 69 goals in not a full season. He did not play full 82 games because he got sick every other week.
But it sounds a bit like me, that.
Yeah. But yeah, 69 goals, awfully impressive. You could tell how obviously you could tell how much can you that his teammates wanted to get him 70 in the last two games of the season, but I think it's the most any active player in the NHL has ever scored in a single season. It is the most anyone has scored in 30 plus years.
Yeah.
I think it's awfully impressive. I think, you know what? Next season he's probably going to score even more, and it's going to be so fun to watch. And we get to watch it as Leafs fans and enjoy it because it's never against our team. It's always for our team because he signed a 4-year extension.
Exactly.
And I think that's what's important. I know a lot of people were really upset, mostly because he came so close and he had so many good chances, especially against Tampa. Jeez.
Yeah.
But I think, you know what, we enjoy this, and we see this as, he had so many good chances and he could have had so many more goals this year that we see this as next year he could have even more.
This is just the beginning.
It's just the beginning.
I just want to say, although it'd have been great to have him hit 70, it is objectively 10 times more hilarious the fact that he had 69.
Oh, absolutely. At the end of the day, are we just not 12-year-old boys at heart?
Exactly. I mean, you kind of have to be to enjoy hockey.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. And also as well, I don't know what I was gonna, you know what? I don't know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something about the fact that he scored so many goals because like 69 goals, it's a crazy amount of goals.
Mm.
Um,
We've got next season.
we got
We've got
next
a lot more.
season.
We've got a lot more seasons.
We got a lot. He's 26. Like there, that's what I was gonna go. Austin Matthews is 26 years old. Right? So he has all the time and he is still quite like he has so much time left.
Mm.
So much time left. And I think that he is absolutely going to continue to dominate this league. And he is probably going to end up the greatest American goal scorer, if not the greatest goal scorer in NHL history by the time everything is all done and dusted.
Mm. Like he is gonna break so many so many more records.
Which is what's
I'm
so yeah.
so excited.
I'm so excited. It's like that's what's like so crazy about all of the records that he broke this season. Like I remember there was a stretch, I think it was like what? It was definitely while we had the show. So it was like December, January, where it was like every other game he was breaking like another Leafs
Yeah.
like franchise record, whether it be points, assists, or goals, or like shorthanded goals, or multi-game, like multi-goal games, or like whatever it may be.
Which like we were all just sat there, and it's like we get another tweet. Oh, Austin Matthews has broken a franchise record again, and we're like, oh, nice. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's like, and it's always like
Next one.
It's like always like Austin Matthews has broken the franchise record that was last held by like Matt Sundin or Wendell Clark or like Frank Mahovlich or like, and it's like all of these guys whose numbers are retired by the organization.
Oh, you know what? I can't wait to see 16 right next to 34.
Up in the rafters.
Oh, it's gonna be beautiful. Oh.
Like that. And you know what? Like if this iteration of the core five of the Toronto Maple Leafs wins a Stanley Cup, knock on wood.
Yeah, well. Oh, there's nothing wood in my room.
Is your bed frame not wooden?
No, I have a drawer that's like wooden. It's good enough.
But
it's fit. But
if that happens, like, do their names like automatically, like, do their numbers automatically get retired? Like,
I think if they win a cup after
retire the whole roster. You have no numbers left.
number 60 is gonna look so good up there.
You leave no numbers left. You become the Yankees or the Habs. Two teams that have very few numbers left.
I feel like if your team wins a Stanley Cup, which they've not done in longer than my dad has been alive. My dad was not born the last time.
My dad was a year old in 1967.
You can't not. Because like, come on.
Also, especially when you look at it, like you look at where Morgan Rielly is in the franchise all-time points for a defense. Like you look at where he is in the franchise numbers for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he's up there.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, Morgan.
Oh, Morgan. Also as well, like Matt Sundin never won a cup with Toronto and his numbers retired. So
like I think you just have to look at everything they've done like so far and just think about how much more they're gonna do.
And enjoy it. Like we'll talk when we talk more about like the playoff previews about just like how much like now it's like bonus. You get extra hockey, so you like enjoy it. But yeah, some other things that I have on my little list of list of highlights for the Leafs season this year. Sweden trip. The Global Series. Sweden. I just have like William Nylander point streak as well lumped in with that. He was a superstar in Sweden. It was like the William Nylander like superstar tour where he was just like, I am William Nylander. I am a star. I am the center of attention and I will score goals.
Yup. He just walked in and was like, you know what, guys? I think I'm going to be a star today.
And everyone was like, okay. And then he was. But yeah, the Swedish, I just think that like was so cool. Like, yeah, I did have to wake up at 7 a.m. to watch a Leafs game.
Right, you do not get to complain about having to wake up or go to sleep at stupid o'clock to watch the Leafs play.
I woke up at 7 a.m. and watched that game in bed while Simon slept through the first 2 periods.
Do you know the amount of times this season that I have had to stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning to watch a game that doesn't finish until 5:30, get an hour's sleep, and then go to my 9 a.m. lecture?
Well, you didn't have to watch the West Coast games. We play like
a podcast.
4 of them. I was watching them.
Yeah, not 5:30 in the morning. You do not get to complain about a few games that you have to wake up early.
One game I had to wake up at 7 a.m. for. It was the Sunday game because it was like a matinee. But yeah, it was great. Loved Sweden. Sweden was so fun. I say that as if like I'm acting as if we were there. We were not there.
We were there in spirit.
We were there in spirit. Yeah, and then I just have a huge giant bullet point also for goaltending. Leafs goaltending this year. I think for as up in like it's the weird thing is if you look at overall like the Leafs individual like each goaltender individually and you look at their season, it's a huge roller coaster for all 3 of them. Right?
You can say that.
Right? But if you take the Leafs goaltending and you lump them all through and you just look at the Leafs goaltending overall, it was so consistent. Right?
Nice.
Which was nice, right? Where it was like, okay, you had Joseph Woll, who was an absolute wall, pardon the pun there, for the first half of the season. And Samsonov was just like not there. He really, really rocky start to his season. And then you have to rely on Martin Jones, and he gives you a really great stretch of goaltending.
He had a really good one.
And then Samsonov comes back and is a totally different player than he was at the start of the season. Plays some of his best hockey. Is one of the best goaltenders in the league during that stretch. I think the only player who was like beating him out was Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who had a crazy stretch after
he's had such a good season as well, and I'm so proud of him.
So
everyone that doubted him, I remember. I will not forget. I will pull up the screenshots.
You have screenshots of just people who have ever Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen hate tweets?
Somewhere, yeah, because I was getting really annoyed and I was like, just you fucking wait. Just you wait.
Marcie. No. Marcie's gonna put people on blast.
It's so over.
But yeah, so just like that's what happened. Like the goaltender, which is so great because, and you know what, also as well, it was a different situation than what we've had going into the playoffs previously. I think last year there's more question marks, that's for sure. Yeah. We weren't expecting to get the Ilya Samsonov that we did in the playoffs. And then he got hurt, and then we got Joseph Woll, and Joseph Woll still played great last year. But I think in previous years, we've had some great goaltending during the season. And then we get to the playoffs, and our starter has just played too many games. through the regular season that they can't go through the playoffs. But I think we've figured something out where I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah, I'm feeling surprisingly okay about it all.
Yeah.
Like usually I'd be sat there and I'd be like, oh my god.
Well, I still am sat like there, but like that's just because of who, like, if I look at the playoffs in a vacuum, I feel much more confident that I have previous years. But if I don't look at it in a vacuum, I'm shitting my pants. But we will talk more about the Leafs and their playoffs and everything and our feelings around that in a bit. First, we got some career milestones. The biggest one, I think, is John Tavares 1,000 points.
Oh, John.
But we've had like a many of accomplishments in terms of milestones reached from that are not as huge, but are still pretty big milestones from almost every, like not every player, but quite a few players. So I'm just I don't know. I'm trying to think of like ones to list off of right now, but I can't. But like a lot of points totals, assist totals, game totals, a lot of career milestones, which are always fun. Bobby, I have a whole point on here. The next point I have is hat tricks. Is hat tricks. That's literally right under career milestones. It says hat tricks.
I know you too well.
You know me too well. You know what I was getting at. Yeah, hat tricks. We had Austin Matthews hat tricks, plural, to start the season. Bubble Mitch.
Oh, Bubble Mitch.
Bobby McMahon hat tricks. More Austin Matthews hat tricks. William Nylander got a hat trick this season, if I remember correctly, and I'm not making things up. He did get one. Yeah. Hold on, I'm pulling up Hockey Reference. I'm like 95% sure.
I know Alex Nylander got a hat trick.
Oh, maybe it was Alex Nylander because I do hat tricks. Oh, we have 9. Oh, Bertuzzi. It wasn't Nylander. It wasn't William Nylander. It was Bertuzzi. I forgot about the Bertuzzi hat trick.
That was insane.
The fact that Austin Matthews has 6 hat tricks this season is actually criminal.
He's just not real.
Just not real. Yeah. And then I also have on here All-Star Game, the whole weekend.
That was a time.
I think that was fun. I think that was so fun. It was in Toronto. It was huge. We had 4 guys go. And it was fun.
It was. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
So did I. And maybe because last year I just like didn't. I think mostly because I enjoyed the skills competition more than last year's.
Yeah.
Right?
It just felt more exciting.
Yeah. I also have on here, it's in the realm of career milestones. Marner and Matthews both hitting 600 points and beating each other. Like Matthews beat out, like Marner did it, set the franchise record for least amount of games to hit 600 points. And then Matthews did it like a week later and beat out Marner's record.
It's so on brand. Like, if like most people, if you were like, oh yeah, these two teammates like beat each other's record within like a week of each other, I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. If you tell me it's Mitch and Austin, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think
It
that's
was
just kind of cool.
making
Like that is in the realm of like the fact that like there was a stretch this season where like it felt like every game there was a new like Leafs PR tweet that's like Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner or William Nylander or like Morgan Riley or like whoever was like set a new record or whatever. Like,
And it's like, yeah,
yeah.
another one.
I also have on here just like the underdog success stories and players that like really found their stride. But like guys like Sima Benoit, Bobby McMahon, Pontus Holmberg, who like guys who were like didn't really start on the opening day roster for this team and through one way or
Now
another have
look at them.
found their way into the lineup and then will be like your game one guys.
And not only have they found their way into the lineup, they found their way into our hearts.
And their way into multi-year contract extensions for Benoit
That they
McMahon.
have. Oh,
So
I'm just really, really happy to see my little Marlies guys coming up and doing well.
yeah, like I think it's true. Like I think for guys like Pontus Holmberg and Bobby McMahon to find success, I think it's truly indicative of the Leafs development pipeline that they have in place. Like Bobby McMahon especially. No, this is nothing against Pontus Holmberg, but Bobby McMahon went through every level of the Leafs
Yeah.
organization through his journey in professional hockey, goes undrafted, plays in the ECHL, plays for the Newfoundland Growlers, joins the Marlies, joins the Leafs, has a shaky start, starts the season hurt, I believe. And then here he is, he's a regular NHL player and has found himself in the lineup and if healthy, will find himself in the lineup for game one of the playoffs.
Look at
Which
him
this is a
go.
guy who was not in game one of the season this year.
I just love to see it.
Which is so heartwarming and so nice to see, like, just how much the Leafs are able to find talent from within their organization. It's like truly the thing that it's like
good as well, because it's not only can they find the talent, but like they know and are able to properly develop players, which is something I feel quite strongly about, as we all know.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Yeah. Well, I do have Buffalo on here later in the agenda, not for this specific segment, but later in the show. Also just as well, like I just was like memorable games as well. Like I don't know. What was your like from you that you can remember? What was your favorite game to watch this year? I know I'm putting you like on the spot.
The thing is, like, I mean, my most memorable game, not my favorite to watch game, but the game that I
know exactly what game you're gonna say too.
No, but you can't put me on the spot and say, yeah, what game sticks out to you the most?
And I know you're gonna say their first road game against Ottawa.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Look, for like the first like 50 minutes of that game, it was a great game.
It was. And that's
I was there.
That's why I think I'm going to say that was my favorite game. And I will explain my reasoning. It was my favorite game, not because of Joseph's injury, But it was my favourite game because what we saw from him before his injury in that game, that would have been his best game of the season by a mile. And I think even though it ended not in the way we wanted, it showed us, like, I know we all know like what he's capable of, but it showed us exactly what he can do when he's fully healthy. And I think that's it shows promise for the future after he's had time in the summer to just reset and get back to it. And as well, the unfortunate results of that game gave us his Instagram back. And we will be forever thankful for that.
He didn't even last 24 hours before getting bored.
And he's so real for that.
And
that just shows he really is just one of us. He just goes, you know, no, I'm not doing this.
I have a couple of games I can say. The first one is the first game. It's game 5 of the season against Tampa on the road. They're down going into the third. I think it was going into the third period. Do you know what game I'm talking about?
I'm trying to remember my mind back. It's a while. It's been a while, and you know.
Oh yeah, I know, because this is a game from October 21st.
Well, that's my grandma's birthday.
They're down 3-1 going into the third period. Matthew Nyes scores 2 goals in the third period to tie them back up. And then John Tavares with the OT winner for the Leafs' first game back in Amalie Arena since winning their first playoff round in 19 years.
And you finish it with a father-son moment.
And you finish it with a John Tavares OT winner, which is almost a near match for his OT winner in game 6.
Which is just beautiful.
That for me is like one of those games where I'm like, yeah, that's a game that like stands out. To me.
I agree.
Like, Matthew Nyes had a 3-point night. Too. Like, it's just a great game.
It was. Also, sorry if I keep coughing during this. I am ill.
So ill.
I'm so sick right now.
Another game, I think another game for me that stands out as well is the 7-0 win against Pittsburgh. Can you tell I love the narrative games?
What? I never would have known. Ever.
I love the games with a good narrative going to it. So this is game. Trying to pull it up. This is game. It's not telling me what game number it is. It's just telling me it's December 16th. It's like, yeah. In Scotiabank, it's Kyle Davis's first game back in Toronto since getting fired, which like people read too much into that. That's not really the narrative for me. It was the fact that we had 7 different goal scorers this game.
Yeah.
One of them being Bob McMahon with his first NHL goal for real this time.
For realsies.
For realsies. But yeah, like I just remember that game being so fun to watch.
It was. That's the thing. You know, it's a good game to watch it's one that when you like start to talk about it, I can immediately remember.
Yeah.
Because to
Oh,
me, every single game just kind of like smushes it into one.
yeah. Yeah. But this game was a standout for me also as well. Gordie Howe hat trick for Matthew Nyes.
Oh, me, oh my. We all know how I reacted after that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like I don't want to make this this segment sound too much like it's a funeral procession for the Leaf season because it's not over yet. There's still more hockey to play. Um but yeah, just I don't know. It's like, and I said this a little bit. I posted a video of me opening a bottle of champagne that was very anticlimactic because it was a twist off and not a cage. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to pop champagne. No, it was a twist off. So I was like, this is not at all as exciting as I thought it was going to be when I bought this for $6 from the
Do you know
LCBO.
how excited I was to watch you completely fuck it up? Do you know how much I was looking forward to that?
And then you see me take the wrapper off.
And I'm sat and I'm like, damn it.
If they go all the way, I will shell out for a full bottle.
I will say though, that video of you realizing that it was just a twist off, it was the most on brand thing for something you've done for a Leafs game. It was so.
And I've done a lot of things for Leaf games.
But it was so incredibly Leafy. Just the
You
progression.
could also, I think you could hear the relief in my voice when I realized what I had gotten.
Yep. You were like,
I was like,
oh, twist off. You're like, I can breathe.
because I watched a singular 50-second Bon Appetit video about how to open Prosecco.
Oh, you.
And I was like, oh, it's fine. Just loosen the cage and then rotate the bottle. I got this. I don't think I would have gotten it. I think I would have lost an eye.
You would not have gotten it at all.
But yeah, so we can switch now into talking about the playoffs, because
Yippee.
I'm really sentimental about this season ending, but it's not over yet.
Not over yet.
And we were gonna dedicate like a full episode to doing a playoff preview, but we have no time.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Gary Bettman, for moving up the playoffs by 2 days and ruining my entire plan. I had a whole plan that was nicely laid out that how like Monday's episode next week was going to be a really great preview for the playoffs that I was going to spend all weekend researching on and everything and like having the matchups and everything. And then we were going to do our brackets and we were going to put our brackets together and then the games were going to start that night. But then Gary Bettman was like, no, Saturday night hockey, you will receive. So now the Leafs play at like 8:00 because on Saturday.
And as well, my personal beef with Gary over moving this is that Saturday night, really inconvenient time for me because you know what, Saturday night, my hockey team's end of season formal.
Well, they said it's at 8:00. And
yeah,
so it's like it starts at 1.
I know.
Is your formal not going to be done at 1?
It'll technically be done, but then the plan is to go afterwards.
Oh, and instead you're going to be watching.
But instead, Leafs I'm going to be like, everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, right, let's go out, let's go clubbing. And I'd be like, guys, halt. I have playoff hockey to watch.
Yeah. So we'll start. I don't know which one to start with. I guess we can start with the biggest one, I think. Toronto and Boston. In
Yay!
the Florida Panthers beating the Toronto Maple Leafs and somehow the Boston Bruins losing to the Ottawa Senators. Okay. The Leafs have earned themselves Boston Bruins as a playoff matchup, which makes me so scared. Because I am stuck with the lifetime of memories of Leafs playoff losses to the Boston Bruins. And it's like, I was asked this question today. Someone asked me today, how nervous are you about this series? And I said, in a vacuum, if we were like purely looking at Boston's lineup, Toronto's lineup, and what they did during the season not playing each other, about a 7, right? If we are to take the situation as a whole, which includes the Leafs playoff history against the Boston Bruins, which is they haven't won a playoff series against Boston since 1953. Not 53, 59. Ooh, 6 years make it all much better. 1959. I'm sitting at about an 11 on the stress scale. Nearing a 12, 13.
My granddad was 11 years old the last time.
Did you? Well, I'm hitting an 11 on the stress scale, nearing a 12, 13.
That's very valid.
Right? Right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I said. And they were like, you know what? Emma, you're right. I think that's about where everyone is right now. Because the Leafs, look, I remember 2013. The only person on that 2013 team that is still on the team now is Morgan Riley.
And
then in 2017, the only players from that 2017 team that are still on this roster now, Morgan Riley, boy, he's been here for not that I'm not saying that as a bad thing. But
poor guy's been through a lot.
Yeah. Morgan Riley's been here. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander. Everyone else gone.
I just know that when Morgan Riley found out that the Leafs are playing the Bruins, he immediately opened Spotify and was like, I have the perfect song for this. Let's play The Great War. And he sat there and just went, I can't wait for this.
Yeah. And 2019, not much different, I'll say. I mean, all we got is, oh, look, we've earned John Tavares.
John.
How nice. But also as well, like we didn't even Sheldon Keefe wasn't even the coach the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs played the Boston Bruins in the playoffs. That's how different this team is. And yet the the concerns and the worries and everything that comes with facing Boston in the first round of the playoffs still plagues this team.
Yeah.
I think we ignore what the Leafs, the regular season series between these two teams. It's 4-0 in favor in Boston. This isn't me being like, we ignore it, so it looks more likely that we just, it doesn't matter. We ignore it. The situation, like one of those games went into a shootout. The other three were not great situations anyways for the Leafs. Like roster wise.
Yeah.
Two of those games were Joseph Wool's first 2 games back from injury.
Yes, that didn't help.
No.
And as well, like, I think, like, yes, you can look at, like, the regular season series and just be like, oh, yeah, we're screwed. But then also, it's playoff hockey this time, which is massively different.
Oh, it's so different.
So it's like, yes, you can use the regular season as a, well, this is how it could go. But, like, at the same time, you can't match them up and just be like, yeah, this is exactly how it's going to go, because it's a very different vibe. And it's a very different game.
So Samsonov is going to get game 1. I think that's pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah.
Not guaranteed, but obvious. Unknown for Boston. They haven't said who it's gonna be. I mean, you can make your assumptions. It's gonna be Swaymark. It's gonna be Swaymark. Oh, wow. It's gonna be Swayman. It's gonna be Allmark. Oh my god, yeah, it's both of them. Then we're really screwed. It's both of them. Oh my god. Can you tell I haven't eaten dinner yet? Jeez.
Swayman net and offensive powerhouse Linus Ullmark as your top line center.
Top line center. So either way, like no matter which one you're getting, it's going to be a good goaltender. Like that's the thing. Yeah. No matter who it is, it's still gonna.
You can't go wrong with either of them.
No. But yeah, I just think it's gonna be a really physical series, and I think that's like the Leafs are going to have players who can play that physical hockey come really, really shine this series. I'm thinking like Matthew Nyes is gonna have to just have those puck battles along the boards that have become his like bread and butter.
He's gonna have to remember that he is in fact a very large individual. And that
Austin Matthews also is going to have to remember that he's a very large individual.
I hope someone just sits him down before and goes, right, I need you to remember one thing. You're big.
You are large. Like also like Lapushkin, Edmondson, like Benoit, McCabe. Like I think our blue line is really physical. And also even as well, like if you're putting Ryan Reeves out there, like he's going to have to remember that he's Ryan Reeves. Yeah, just big physical, because I don't know. I'd still unsure on. I think it's Sheldon Keefe has yet to confirm whether Max Domi, Bobby McMahon, or Calle Yarncroke will be ready to go game 1. We don't know. I'm sure we will probably find out more tomorrow. If they are all 3 of them ready to go, it does become a fun little game of what lines to roll out. And I think Sheldon, because that's the thing, the Leafs have so much forward depth and skilled forward depth that like you don't want to take anyone out of the lineup. And I think that's one thing that they have over Boston.
Yeah.
Like if you look at Boston's lines, as specifically their forward group, it's night and day comparison. Like the Leafs are just that much better and that much more depth. And so I think it's going to be fun to watch, man. It's going to be a good series no matter what. I think you can't go wrong with an original 6 matchup. you can't go wrong when it's Boston and Toronto in an original six matchup. So that series starts Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's game 1. And then we have Tampa and Florida. Their game 1 is Sunday at noon, I think, or 12:30. Is it noon or 12:30? Anyways, Eastern, which like
It's early.
Yeah, it's 12:30. I knew I got that right. It's early, which means I'm gonna be checking up on the score on that one underneath the table at Simon's family lunch. So
they'll understand.
Oh, actually, you know what? If there's anybody if there's any situation that will understand me checking playoff scores, it will be that side of Simon's family.
Yeah. It's like, so guys, sorry, I have my priorities.
I just gotta sit next to the right cousin, I think.
Yeah.
And it'll all will be understood.
You just walk in, you're like, right, who's my victim?
I think for me, like, yes, it'll be exciting because you'll have like Matthew Tkachuk playing playoff hockey, which is so entertaining.
Oh,
You'll also have
he's
like
brilliant.
the top end skill of the Tampa Bay Lightning, like, will be like Nikita Kucherov, Andrei Vasilevsky, right? Like, they're still a very dangerous team, Tampa Bay. But I will say, I think for me, and this is just so weird, but like, the thing I'm most excited about the series is not the goaltending matchup. It's not the forwarding matchup. It's not the deep pair. It's the coaching matchup between John Cooper and Paul Maurice. That is like a heavyweight all-time coaching matchup. Right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
I'm just excited to watch it because I like any game between those two teams.
Oh, Battle of Florida is so entertaining.
Fun.
It's so fun. But like, I was looking at the lines and I was trying to see like what player matchups would excite me. Like, no offense to Sergei Bobrovsky, but like, he doesn't really excite me going up against Vasilevsky for me. But like, John Cooper and Paul Maurice going head to head, oh, that excites me. I am looking forward to that because those are two guys that will like get up to shenanigans. And yeah. Also, like, anyway, yeah, heavyweight, two very successful coaches who have a history. Also as well, Carolina and the New York Islanders. That is a series. Game 1 is Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. I don't have much here besides I think it'll be a hard series for the New York Islanders to win. I'm being honest. Carolina's a really good team this year.
Yeah.
And I think any team with Jake Gensel and like Freddie Anderson playing some of the best hockey.
Yeah, they've got Freddie Anderson when he's
They've got Freddie Anderson. And he's good. Like, take it from a couple of Leaf fans to know what it's like to watch Freddie Anderson be good between the pipes.
I miss him so much, Emma. I miss him every day.
I know. But we already have too many goalies, almost.
No, we have a lot of goalies. I wouldn't say too many, but I also am of the belief that you can never have too many goalies. Hence my fantasy team, in which I started the season with 4 goalies, and only 4 because they wouldn't let me actually have any more.
You would just do an entire team of goalies if you could.
Yeah. I think
someone's gotta do that in like a fantasy league where it's like just all goalies. No rules.
Let me have my all goalie team. Please.
All goalie team. But yeah, I think it'll be a hard series for New York Islanders. I mean, Patrick Waugh obviously knows what it's like to win in the playoffs. And knows what it takes. And I think New York Islanders have had a huge turnaround this year in terms of putting themselves into a playoff position. But I think Carolina is just a scary team to play.
Yeah.
Um,
And it took me, like, when we started talking about Caroline, I was like, Bunce. And then I remembered, and I was like, oh, not anymore.
Yeah, no. Michael Bunting is in Pittsburgh. It's funny though, because they've had so many milestones since he's been there, and he has found his way into like the front and center of every single one of like the pictures that they like the team pictures that they take, where he's like, I'm going to make myself uncroppable. And honestly, respect that, because you will always be in those pictures. So if you make yourself like uncroppable from them, then like people will always be like, ah, yes, Michael Bunting. Honestly, respect it. Mad respect to Michael Bunting.
You know, as someone who hates being on the outside of pictures because I have a massive fear of being cropped out of them, I understand him on a very deep level.
Yeah. And then the last Eastern Conference series is the New York Rangers versus the Washington Capitals. That game 1 is Sunday at, hold on, I can pull this up, 3 p.m. Eastern. Which, okay, I will say I did have my concerns about how the league was going to make the playoff schedules so that we didn't have like all of the Eastern Conference teams on like starting on one day, and then the Western Conference teams starting on another day, and so then you didn't have days where conferences were playing. But all has been resolved, I guess, and that's by giving like the New York Rangers nearly a week off.
Yeah.
But it's fine. They're playing Washington, who somehow, ass backwards, found their way into a playoff spot.
Somehow.
In a crazy sequence of events. That
I just oh, it's just crazy.
It was crazy. It was so crazy to the point where like I think NHLPR like put out a tweet that like broke it down by the minute.
Yeah.
Because it all happened at the same time. So for those who were living under a rock on I believe it was the 16th.
Or just people that value their sanity.
Yeah, and like stay off Twitter. The Flyers needed to win against Washington to avoid the Washington Capitals from clinching a playoff spot, and thus keeping the themselves as the Flyers, like the Philadelphia Flyers, the Detroit Red Wings, and the Pittsburgh Penguins, all 3 of them still in the playoff hunt. The Detroit was playing the Montreal Canadiens, at one point they were down 4-2 and had come back to tie it. At the same time, the Flyers and Washington Capitals game was tied 1-1, in which then the Flyers pulled their goalie, thus allowing Washington to score the empty netter in regulation, thus securing their playoff berth, and thus knocking out Detroit, who went on to beat Montreal in overtime, and also the Pittsburgh Penguins, who were not playing that night.
Oh boy.
And that is how Alexander Ovechkin's retirement home is in the playoffs. It's like just like the retirement home, like Dylan Strome. Congrats on Dylan Strome though for making playoffs. Also as well, Rasmus Sandin gets to play some playoff hockey. Maybe he could be good to go for game 1. He has been injured, but he could be good to go for game 1 on Sunday against New York Rangers, who are the President's Trophy winners. So therefore, it's a hard matchup for Washington.
It
Um,
is. I just love how every time I look at the Washington Capitals, all I see is a bunch of like old people in a nursing home, and then some poor grandson in Dylan Strome who is there, not by choice, but has been told by his mom, if you don't go see your granddad, you're grounded. And that's the vibe I get from him. I deeply enjoy it, and I find it very entertaining. Oh my god, I actually think I might be dying. Sorry guys, we're not gonna make it to the playoffs. I'm gonna die.
yeah, but New York, like, this isn't to say the Washington Capitals haven't been good.
You know, they have been good.
This season, the season series between these two teams is split with 2 wins apiece. So it also is not to say that the Washington Capitals are bad, because I think any team with Alexander Ovechkin on it is dangerous in the playoffs. Right? Like, at the end of the day, you have to remember that like, Washington Capitals still have Alexander Ovechkin. And the New York Rangers have the President's Trophies curse, I guess, if you believe in that sort of thing. I think it's obviously the highest chance for an upset. So who knows?
Who knows?
Will say it would make me very, very sad to see another sad Chris Kreider. Yeah, and then in terms of the West, I guess we can just like briefly talk about each team that is making the playoffs, because some matchups aren't confirmed yet, so can't even really like, that's the thing. I was like, we can't even really talk about the matchups because like they aren't finalized yet. They could still like change, which is, slightly annoying. But Dallas will win the Central Division, which like, and the conference, which like, good for Dallas. I think Dallas is going to be like the scariest team coming out of the West. Underrated,
Yeah.
I think underratedly good by like, in terms of just the fact that I feel like we just like haven't heard about them, and then they've just been really good all year. You know what I
they
mean?
have, like, everything I've seen from them, they've just been like quietly insane.
Yeah. Winnipeg, I think Winnipeg, there's a couple teams in here where I'm like, it'll be a true test of like, if you're a playoff team, to back up your regular season success. Winnipeg is one of those teams for me where I'm like, I can see it, but also like, all it takes is for Connor Hellebuck to have a bad couple of games, and I can like, and I feel like they'd fall apart.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of like a running thing for them. It's like it very much depends on the goaltending as to
Yeah.
what happens with them.
Colorado, like, they're still a good team. Like, I don't know how else. And at the deadline, they only got better, like at the trade deadline. So
Yeah.
no, Colorado. Vancouver, this is going to be their pressure test. Like, the Vancouver for me is a team where I'm like, they're very, very young. I don't want to say they're ahead of schedule in terms of a rebuild, because it's hard to put a schedule on those sort of things and a timeline, but I think it's going to be a big test for them as a team with a pretty young core, and at least also as well a team that their core has not seen the playoffs. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like guys on that team who are part of that core. who have played in the playoffs. Hold on, if I can pull up their roster, because like, sorry, the only name that's like coming right, well, Lindholm, I guess, has played in the playoffs. Dakota Johnson, if he was with the Blues at the right time. Yes. Okay, St. Louis Blues. Nikita Zadorov, yeah. Ilya Mikheyev, yeah. Leafs legend Ilya Mikheyev. And like Sam Lafferty,
Oh, laugh.
who's got a weird beard going on.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
Like there's a couple guys, yeah, who have like playoff experience. But like I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested. I'm interested to see how they'll do. Like guys like Quinn Hughes, and which I know they're damn good hockey players, but I just want to see like a little science
See how
experiment.
they cope under
Elias
pressure.
Pettersson, yeah. Edmonton, like I think they still are the team that like has to prove something in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Like a team with Connor McDavid on it is always going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But like, and this isn't me saying like Connor McDavid is a bad player because his team hasn't had any considerable success. It's still, and now this sounds really hypocritical of me as a Leafs fan to say this, but like, I'll say the same thing about Austin Matthews, where it's like, yeah, okay, a team with Connor McDavid, like they're not missing the playoffs, but can a team with Connor McDavid, like, is that enough to make your team successful in the playoffs?
Yeah.
How much more do you need?
Yeah. I think that is a good question though, because it's like a lot of the time, if you have a team who's got like the player, who everyone like, you think of the Oilers, you think of Connor McDavid. It's how do they use them? Because do you like? I think that's like a big make or break thing where it's if you panic and just like play the entire team around that one player, it's gonna fall apart and it's not gonna work. But if you
No, I know.
You get what I mean though.
I know exactly what you mean. Where it's
like you can't have one player be the center of the entire team with everyone else.
It's a team sport for a reason.
Yeah, I know. A good way to look at it is you can't have one player being the sun of the solar system and all the others being the planets that go around.
It's got to be like an asteroid belt.
Yeah, like everything has to work together.
Look at us go! We're so good at metaphors.
Or just think of the crisis I could cause by tweeting out something with like calling Connor McDavid the
son of the Edmonton Oilers solar system.
Oh god.
I think that one would give you death threats, but Vegas.
Good friend.
Vegas for me, I think is maybe the biggest question mark out of any of the playoff teams because of like how like LTIR. Like we haven't like what will Mark Stone add? We've seen a little bit of what Thomas Hertl can bring to this team in the back half of the season, but like this team, like, because I know Mark Stone is going to be ready to roll out for game 1. I know
Oh,
it.
his miraculous recovery. Just
I
in
know
time.
I know he's going to be ready to roll out for game 1. So like what I really want to know is like how much of an impact will that make? And we just don't know. And that's the reason why they're a question mark, is because we just haven't seen this team at all. Like we haven't seen the playoff version of this team in terms of its lineup at all through the season, unlike basically every other team where we've seen, okay, this could be your game 1 lineup. We haven't seen that from Vegas because of Mark Stone. Like we don't, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yes, if sure, how much impact could a player really have on a team? But like when it's your captain and when it's, and we've seen previously, like last year for sure, it's like, yeah, they didn't have him for most of the season last year, but they had him for the playoffs and it worked and they won.
Mhm.
So that's for
It'll
me
be
why
interesting to see how it all plays out.
that's for me why they're a big question mark, I think. And maybe the biggest question mark.
Yeah.
Nashville, to be honest, I think there was a point this season where I didn't think Nashville was going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think that's I think everyone could have said that, and then they canceled their U2 concert and
No.
woohoo. Yeah, Nashville. I mean, still a good team. They still got some
Nashville's
really good
Nashville.
players. Nashville's Nashville. They're still hard to play against. Like that's the thing, is like it's not like there's a team in the playoffs where it's like, oh, there's an easy team, because there's not. And then the last one is just the LA Kings. They've had some rough stretches this season, and I think, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot the LA Kings existed for a while.
I think because they were like so good to start the season that everyone was talking about them being like, oh, the LA Kings could be like sneaky good in that, like in the top 3 in the Pacific. Like, oh, the LA Kings. And then
They kind of flopped a bit.
yeah. Then they had that stretch where everyone was like, oh, there's a locker room cancer. Do you remember that? Remember that era of the LA Kings where they were like locker room cancer? And I was like, oh, okay.
There is very little that brings me more joy than just
Then
getting
they fired
into.
their coach. Remember when that happened too?
Oh my
They were one
God.
of the 8 teams this year that fired their coach.
It has been such a long season.
Like that's the thing. There's been 8 teams during the season that have fired their coach. 9 if you count outside of the season.
Yeah.
Been a
busy time.
Busy time. I guess so that's kind of the playoffs. We can't really even do a playoff review in terms of matchups because not all of them are set in stone. So we just gave you our thoughts on the Western Conference teams individually. Playoffs start Saturday. Just there's not a break.
Square.
There's not a break, man.
No.
I just want to breathe.
A little bit of time to just not be stressed.
And the thing is like for us, it's like we won't get time off. Like not even man, July. Because it was kind of suggested today that the NHL awards would be like the 27th, which is the day before the draft, on the 28th in June. And then the draft is 2 days. So it's the 28th to 29th is the draft. And then the first is free agents. Oh my God. So we're gonna have to like figure out how we're going to outline our content around that week. I don't know. Maybe we'll be giving you guys like 4 different episodes.
It's gonna be a busy week for us. You can say that much. God.
My sister graduates high school that week.
Oh my
Like,
God.
I have to go. Anyways. Um,
Oof.
it's finally time that we talk about the topic that I think notably it's pretty noticeable that we've been putting this off for like
Mm.
2 weeks at this point because we didn't want to talk about it at all until it was official. We heard it from Gary Bettman himself because we didn't want to sit here and speculate because it's not productive. And it was made official today, but it was kind of known for a couple days prior that the Arizona Coyotes are moving to Utah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, sucks.
Yeah.
I feel for the fans in Arizona. They obviously very, very much love their hockey team, and
Mm.
I think it's just unfortunate because of the fact that like the fan base and the team and everything was failed by the ownership. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like there was a lack of fans. It wasn't like there was a lack of support. It wasn't like that was the issue. It was truly just mismanagement from the ownership, which is like the
Mm.
worst. It's the worst.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like there's nothing that anyone could have done about it.
well, the
It
ownership could
sucks
have
even.
done something about
Well,
it, but like,
yeah, but I mean, like everyone in general.
yeah,
Like it's
there's
not
not.
like I don't know. Yeah, it's not like there was anything that anyone apart from the ownership like could have done to prevent it from happening.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to figure out like what to read. There's been a varied collection of information. So yeah, it is the franchise because the way that the NHL works is each team is a franchise owned by an ownership group. The franchise of the Arizona Coyotes has been bought out by the ownership group, well, the owners, because it's not really a group, it's a married couple,
Mm.
of the NBA team, the Utah Jazz, which, okay, I asked my boyfriend, the resident basketball fan, being like, so what can you tell me about the ownership group? And he was like, they are good owners. They are the Utah Jazz they've got good ownership. So at least there's that, like, it's not like they're going to someone incompetent. Um,
Mm.
but they're still not playing in next season. They won't be playing the whatever the team is called because it won't be called like Salt Lake City, which is where the team's going to be located. It's going to be called Utah something. Don't know a name. We might not have a name for the first season. It might be called the Utah Hockey Club, which just sounds like it's for Mormons.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and won't have like a mascot the first season. I don't know
That's
what
just
jerseys they're gonna wear. Like, what jerseys are they gonna wear then? If you don't have a name, is it just gonna be like a stupid NHL crest? Like on, it's gonna be like I don't know, blue jersey. If we get more
are
blue
we gonna
jerseys,
get
I
like
swear to God.
are we gonna get like the PWHL treatment where it just says Utah across the
If we do, so help me God.
Oh.
If we're getting rid of the Kachina for that, um, so yeah, so I I do want to find the official statement released by the Board of Governors. Um, establishment of a franchise beginning in the 24-25 season in Utah that will be owned and controlled by Smith Entertainment Group, which is led by Ryan and Ashley Smith. In addition, the board approved a plan that renders the Arizona Coyotes franchise inactive with a right to reactivate if owner Alex Marullo has fully constructed a new state-of-the-art facility appropriate for an NHL team within 5 years. So Alex, which that's not fair to fans in Arizona.
Yeah.
Like fans of the Coyotes love the Coyotes partially because of the players that play for the team. Guys like Clayton Keller, guys like Lawson Krause, guys like I don't know, Alex Kerfoot.
I was just gonna say.
I'm sure there's some Arizona Coyote fan out there whose favorite player this season was Alex Kerfoot. In which case, honestly, yeah. I also feel bad for him too because he has a baby on the way, and I'm pretty sure he just bought a new house in Arizona.
Yeah.
And now has to sell said house and move to Utah. Oh, if I was a player, I'd be pissed.
I would be so mad.
I'd be so deeply upset. But yeah, but and it allows so in 5 years, but like the thing is obviously the problem with the Arizona Coyotes and why we're now why this is now happening is because of the ownership. And so the fact that you're allowing the ownership an opportunity to still almost like do this all over again.
It's like, come on.
Is
really?
A little, especially because like it's not going to be like the Arizona Coyotes. Like it's going to be the same way where like, yes, there's two Winnipeg, like there's the Winnipeg Jets. Like we've had two different Winnipeg Jets teams, but one of them is now, I guess now, whatever, the Utah, right?
Yeah.
And the other one is what used to be the Atlanta Thrashers. Like that's the thing is I'm 95% sure there is still franchise records for the Arizona Coyotes. That are still like are for players that were played in like only played in Winnipeg, never played in Arizona. And now this team that it's now gonna like be located oh, it does not include. Okay, well, here, yeah, like Dale Hawerchuk is the franchise scoring leaders. Okay, anyways, but yeah, like, and but like, sorry, I'm just trying to but like now it's gonna be like Utah. Like now the team is gonna be, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just gonna be weird. And I don't like it.
Like, it's because they carry the team records over and things like that, right? So, and it's like the team is now played in this franchise, you could call it, has now played in 3 different cities.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of the things where I'm like, I feel so bad for not just the fans of the Coyotes, but also the employees and like whatever, like, yeah, okay, guys in the front office, like, you know, like in the executive positions are probably going to move to Salt Lake City and get to keep their jobs. But I'm talking about like the like arena, like concession staff.
Yeah.
Who, or, you know, maybe like, I don't know, social admins, people who work in the offices and like accounting or wherever who don't want to relocate their life to Salt Lake City because I don't know, they can't, they don't want to, whatever. and now they've lost their job working for an organization they've put so much time towards. It's so, and for it to all go down in like the span of the week. And also as well, like the thing that really, and the whole timeline for this is just so, yeah, like players are gonna have to relocate. And they could be like, well, they make they still have to, like, moving is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And like I wouldn't wish having to move to another state on like anyone. Because it's annoying. Like it's so frustrating to have to like pack up your life. And also like just the way that this all happened, where like the players were only notified of this, that this could happen when they like a week, 2 weeks ago, or whenever it was originally, was it 2 weeks ago, a week ago? They were only notified because it got like the story that this could actually happen got leaked to the media. And then because it got leaked to the media, then the ownership was like, okay, well, we have to say something. So like that's where it makes me question. It's like, so were you just gonna like not tell anyone until today and be like, well, that's it?
It's like, oh, surprise.
Right? Because they were posting like on the social pages. I'm sure it wasn't their like actual social Adam. I'm sure it was owner's son. Like that was the thing where it was like he was like director of like social, like something where it was like he had the login for like the team's social pages. That was where I was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. But like they were still posting videos being like, hockey belongs in the desert. And like it's like a week before that rumor like that they could be actually moving to Utah, the Arizona Coyotes posted plans for a whole new complex with like a whole new entertainment district for this land auction that was going to happen in June. And it was like this whole thing where it was like, okay, so maybe like actually, the Coyotes could, play in an NHL arena. Like my problem was never, like I do think that like it's so important to have hockey in untraditional markets, non-traditional markets. I think it's so important for the growth of the game. And I think also as well that Arizona had done so much for growing hockey within their community. And I can't sit here as a Leafs fan and be like, I don't think hockey belongs in Arizona, because that's certainly untrue. It's not what I believe. And also as well, we have two players within our organization who are a direct byproduct of the Arizona Coyotes and having hockey in Arizona. And one of them is Austin Matthews, who will be the greatest American goal scorer of all time, if not the greatest goal scorer of all time by the end of his career. Another one being Matthew Nyes, who is proving to be himself like a huge part of the franchise. And like I can't sit here and be like, yeah, no, I think we can't, hockey doesn't belong in there. I can't say that.
No.
Because it's not something I think is true. And it sucks. And I don't know how many times, like how many words there is for me to say that this is just like awful. It's so bad.
Yeah. And especially like for me, being someone who lives in a place where hockey is very much not a big thing, how important it has been, like for my own enjoyment of the sport, to have local teams that are like easily accessible and that I can just go watch, and like to have them across the country. It's really important, because like if we didn't have hockey here, it'd be really shit, because I'd be like, I want to go watch the sport that I love. So it's like, and I can do that, and I'm lucky enough to have a team very close by. That means I can go watch a game and have it be very easily accessible ticket wise. Thank you, student discount.
Like, yeah, and like that's the thing. Like I grew up in Toronto, so obviously I always have I've always lived in and now I live in Ottawa, and so I've always lived in a city with an NHL team. Like I don't know what it's like to not live in a place with an NHL team. So it's like but like I couldn't imagine not living, like I couldn't imagine living in a city that didn't have an NHL team or didn't have hockey in some form. Right? And so to lose your team like this in this way is
awful.
It's awful, and you could just see it in the broadcast last night. It was Arizona's last game of the season, and their one shot, I think that will like actually, I was tucked into bed at like midnight, not bawling, but I was crying, was they were showing, the fans cheering after the game and the players saluting the fans, and then they cut to cheerleader, like one of the spirit squad, this girl, and she's waving an Arizona Coyotes flag, and she's got tears streaming down her face. And those are the sort of team employees that like you can't help but feel for, because she's probably put so much of her life into this team, into loving this team, and she works for them, and she and she, when you're like that's why I have so much respect for like cheerleaders and spirit, like cheerleaders, I guess. I don't know. I feel like there's another word I could use, like spirit squads. I don't know. But where it's like, because even of like bad teams, because you still have to try and hype up the crowd, even when the team is crap. And like, you still have to make the fans feel engaged when it's a horrible game. And like, you put so much of yourself into that to lose it is an awful feeling. And like that. And I just like, I think about the fact that like the players spent so long signing things for fans and spending so long time after the game, and the broadcasters, like those are guys like, who have done it. They're, I think, employees who have been there since the beginning, who now like won't have a team.
Yeah. It's really shit.
It's really shit. Yeah. Well, you can't. Well, I will say though, hats off for the Arizona Coyotes for going out with a bang and going out with some wins against some pretty damn good teams.
Yeah. It was a good way to end it.
Going up and winning against Edmonton Oilers in that fashion is pretty.
Yeah, it was a good win as well.
It was a good game. Like, hats off to the team for that.
Yeah.
So, I guess now we talk about Buffalo.
Yeah. Bring on Buffalo.
Was announced on Tuesday that Buffalo had fired their head coach, Don Granato. The 8th coach to get fired this season. I think also the 7th. There was some number about like how many coaches Buffalo has gone through since they fired Lindy Ruff. Was it like what, 5 or 6? Named no replacement, but Kevin Adams said that he wanted someone with NHL pedigree to fill the role next year. So I don't know. I think Marcie will have more thoughts on this than I will. So I will let you discuss.
I think it's kind of got to the point where my thoughts are just, yeah, like it's happened. It's very clear with like the amount of coaches that the Sabres have gone through and still not had success. It's very clear that there's other problems, and that it's very much not just the coaching. It annoys me almost to see a team that does have so much talent and so much potential have it be wasted, because instead of looking at the organization as a whole and being like, right, we need to just take a step back and actually find out where we are going wrong. It's because they're clearly not doing that. They're clearly they're just immediately going, team's gone to shit. We're not winning. We're not making the playoffs. And instead of like actually trying to figure out why that's happening and what's going on, just immediately blaming the coaching, because it's the easiest thing to do and just go, yeah, it's a coaching problem. Let's find a new coach. Let's try again. How much longer are you going to try? How much longer are you going to hire a coach, watch them struggle, watch the team struggle, not make the playoffs, waste the prime years of some of your best players, and then just go, it's a coaching problem. Let's fire the coach. Let's start again. Because it's not sustainable. Because I'm not even, at what point do you just run out of coaches? At what point do you just sit there and you just go, we've just fired our coach, but there's no one there. There's either going to be no one left, or there's going to be no one that wants to do it. Because I can guarantee there's a lot of people who are just sort of thinking, shit, I do not want to do that. Because it's like,
if the average turnover of coaches is,
it's just, it really pisses me off to see, instead of finding the problem and working on a solution, to just see them take the easy out, fire the coach, and waste another year of a team that has the potential to be really fucking good. Because we've seen it in bits and flashes this year. We've seen some really good Sabres hockey. And it's just, they're letting the team down. And they're letting the fans down by, at the end of the day, giving up and not actually trying to figure out why this isn't working.
Especially also, sorry, I'm just gonna, because I have this pulled up in front of me. Since Lindy Ruff left the team as their head coach, the highest win percentage among the coaches that have come after him is Don Granato with a 495.
I just, at this point, just put me in charge. Because I would do a better job.
But like, that's the thing where it was like, even if you have like, yes, it's not like to the success that like Lindy Ruff had with this team before he was fired. And he was there for a long time. He was there from 97 to 2013. Over 1,000 games coached. You have like, no one has even come close to reaching that win percentage. Is at that point, is it the coaches, or is it something else with the organization? Is the direction that you've gone with this team not the right one? And I can't keep saying, oh, I think Buffalo's almost over this hump. I think they're almost there. Because they have a lot of young guys, but at some point those young guys aren't going to be young guys anymore, and you have to kind of face the music and
as well,
realize the reality of the situation.
And it's not even that like these young guys aren't going to be young forever. These young guys aren't going to want to play there forever.
No.
If it carries on like this, like they're stronger than me. I'd have been sick of it by now. I'd have just been, you know what? I don't want to play here anymore because I'm not winning. It's just not working. And it's like, I think as much as I've kind of said, yeah, it's not the coaching that's the problem, I'm not blame the coaching, because you can always find issues with the coaching, but it's not entirely the coaching. There will be a billion other problems. And I think the fact that no one's said, hang on a minute, let's actually look for this and figure out what's going on, and like actually try and solve the problem, instead of just, oh, let's fire the coach, let's try again. Because like the players are gonna get sick of it, they're not gonna want to stick around, the fans are gonna get sick of it. Like like just this year alone, I've seen so many Sabres fans just genuinely giving up, because it's got to the point where they just don't have it in them anymore to carry on and watch a team that is just so consistently just not doing well and just missing and not achieving what everyone knows that they can and they have the talent to do. And it's like, it's
Yeah,
not
because they've
even,
got some talent there,
it doesn't come from a place of, oh, I just don't want to support this team anymore. It comes from a place of, I genuinely don't know how much more I can watch this team just crash and burn.
yeah. And I will say, like, I think this offseason is a huge decision point for this team. They have a lot of upcoming free agents. I mean, you know, you have to make a decision with where you're. I think the big one, and I think the one that's a huge question for a lot of people, is goaltending. You have a decision to make there in which direction you're going to go with your goaltending. Because you have Devin Levi, who still has a year left on his contract. But then you have two free agents, a UFA in Eric Comrie and an RFA in Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. And you have to make a decision in where you want to go, and it's hard. And, you know, you have, and I think also as well, like, I don't want to say it's some of these decisions is a bad, like some of these contracts signed are bad, but like you also have to keep in mind, like, Rasmus Dahlin's going up to $11 million. Yeah. Owen Power is going from 900,000 to 8.35, which I think is a huge jump for this team.
Yeah.
And you have UFAs in guys like Victor Olofsson, Eric Robinson, Tyson Jost, Zemgus Girgensson. Like, you just have to make a decision. Like, Peyton Krebs is an RFA this after the season as well. So like you just have to make decisions and make choices. And
yeah, I think especially with the goaltending situation, we all know how I feel about that.
I think we've had several conversations on this podcast about it. We don't need to reiterate.
But what I will say is, I hope Eric Comrie, wherever he ends up, has a lot of fun and finds a team that treats him a lot better than Buffalo has, because I'm sick of it, and I'm really angry about the way that he's been treated, how it's gone for him this season. So I hope he finds a team that appreciates him and realizes what a good goalie they have in Eric.
A good goal and a really good guy. Like, he seems so nice and so lovely of an individual, and such a really great human being, like a human person. And he's one of those guys where I was like, he's not, you know, a superstar, but I would love to like get him on the show to have a conversation with him. And we've said this before, where it's like I'm sure he would love it, because it would just, like, he always has said, is like, I just have talk. He loves a good yap, which, like, I'm sure he'd love to come up, but like, he's one of those guys where it's just like, he just seems like such a nice, genuine guy, and like, he seems like so and you can say what you will about his on ice performance or whatnot, but I think, you know, he just deserves to, at least, like, when you go into a workplace, you at least expect to be treated with respect.
Yeah.
Right?
I think God, I just get so mad. Like,
The thing is I still have about 5 things left to talk.
yeah, we have
4 things
a
left to
lot to
talk
go
about.
through. But like,
So this was purely supposed to just to talk about the fact that Don Granato got fired, and instead
but I
we're
mean,
turning it into
whenever you bring up Buffalo,
I know that's the thing. We're bringing up
But like
Buffalo. I knew this
closing
episode was going to be long.
my closing thoughts on this is the Sabres need to sort themselves out, organization wide. Sort yourself out, every single person. Find the problem, because I'm sick of it.
There has, like, that's the thing where, like, there has to be a problem.
Mm.
So therefore, like, you want to be able to find it.
Yeah. And as well, I just want the best for Eric Comrie, because as well, a lot of people I've seen have been like, oh, well, he's not had a very good season. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't judge how good he is based off the few games that he's actually played, because he's not been given the chance. And I think that really that says a lot about just how mismanaged the goalies are within the Sabres organization. And I will not open that can of worms, because we will be here.
We've done it before. We've done it before too, as well, multiple times this season.
Yeah, you've all suffered through my 10-minute non-stop. What is going on with the goalies?
Well, speaking of, I was like, oh, I could go 2 directions with this, but since we ended on talking about goaltending, I thought we would continue with the goaltending trend and talk about the fact that Marc-Andre Fleury re-signed a 1-year extension with the Minnesota Wild for $2.5 million. He did say, though, however, in a video released by the team, that it is his final time, it is his last season, and he will be retiring at the end of next year, which one more year of Marc-Andre Fleury. I'm trying, like, not to get emotional about it, because we still have to get through, like, Jeff Carter, but yeah, I think it's great. I think for sure I saw a lot of Minnesota Wild fans show concern over what it means for the Wild's goaltending situation, and I think because they have Gustafsson and they have Wallstead, and I think it will just allow Marc-Andre Fleury to be a little bit more of that mentorship role for those 2 goaltenders. And I think there's been a lot of off ice stuff, mental health wise, for Gustafsson, is what I've read. So I think by allowing to have that stability in Marc-Andre Fleury there, I think it will definitely be important and will be very helpful to both those young goalies. And I think, I think it's a good decision, but also I may be totally biased because I love Marc-Andre Fleury so very much, and we'll definitely be getting back out to the Canadian Tire Center for for when the Minnesota Wild roll into town against the Ottawa Senators. I will be there.
I'll be there in spirit.
You'll be there when I take 7 pictures of Brock Faber.
And I'll just be like, Brock! You just have me just jumping up and down like a little like devil on your shoulders going, find Brock! Give us Brock! Where's Brock?
But yeah, so obviously a future Hall of Famer in Marc-Andre Fleury, for sure. His career, I don't think I need to sit here and list his career accomplishments, because I think we're all very familiar with them. Another news in that same sort of vein is that Jeff Carter announced his retirement following the Pittsburgh Penguins' final game of the season. Obviously a very storied career for big Jeff Carter. Cited he may return to the organization in a management role at a later point, but said that he just right now wants to focus on being a dad and spending time with his kids. Obviously has won a plethora. He's won 2 Stanley Cups, a gold Olympic medal, as well as a gold World Junior medal with Team Canada. 39 years old. You know what? Hats off to you. Drafted 11th overall by the Philadelphia Flyers in 2003, which, by the way, was not alive for that. And I was not alive for that draft because you weren't either.
No, I was also. I was preparing to enter the world and cause chaos.
Because my birthday is in November and yours is in September.
That it is. I was sat there. I was like, I don't like this pause.
I can remember birthdays. Also, it's really helpful when Simon's is July, Cal's is August, and yours is September.
Your 3 favorite people.
So it's like they're all in like a row, like I can remember. Like, oh yeah, Simon's is first because his is in July, but and also my sister's is in June, so it literally is like 3 birthdays.
Oh god.
No, and then my cousin's is August, and then mine is. It's like line them up. Why did I say that like that? But
line them
yeah,
up.
line them up. But yeah. Anyways, big Jeff Carter. I think, you know, Pittsburgh Penguins fans sometimes at some point weren't happy with his play, but I think also you have to remember that like he was 39 years old and at some I also get it because like as a Leaf fan, there's times where I was not happy with Mark Giordano's hockey. But also then I remember that Mark Giordano was a 40-year-old man playing playing in the NHL. Yes. And not all of us can be Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, congratulations to Jeff Carter on a very, very successful career, and I hope he enjoys his
being a dad
and his lawnmower, his sit-down lawnmower.
You know what?
The team gave him a sit-down lawnmower. Hold on, I have to double check on what brand it is. I'm about to become my father and.
Oh god.
Oh, it's a Toro. Oh. Good choice. Good choice. A Toro? Yeah, nice choice. Those are the ones my dad uses at his golf course.
Oh god.
I wonder who picked the hat. That's a nice lawn. No, it's a nice lawnmower. I didn't look that closely at it. That's a nice lawn. That's one of those things where I'm gonna go home in like a month and I'm gonna be like, hey dad, they gave Jeff Carter a lawnmower for his retirement. Look at it. And he's gonna be like, that's a nice lawnmower. I was like, damn right it is.
Oh, I hope he has fun with it.
But yeah,
he looks happy. He looks pleased.
He looks very pleased with it. I think for me, like, I don't know, it's just so weird because like I've never known an NHL without Jeff Carter in it. We both have never known an NHL without, but it's like weird where it's like, I don't know, we're getting to the point where like guys we grew up watching are retiring, and I'm like, oh my god.
And you're like, no, I don't think
like
so.
I watched him win a gold medal at the Olympics. That's weird. I don't like thinking about it because then I get all like, oh, silly about like the passage of time and things like that. But yeah. One more thing. Oh, Martin St. Louis and Montreal agreed to a 2-year contract option to extend St. Louis' contract as head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. I think that's good. I think he's done a good job so far as a head coach, considering what Montreal has had to work with in the past few seasons, aka injuries.
Yeah, they've had a rough time.
They've been so unlucky with injuries. Is there a team more unlucky with injuries than the Montreal Canadiens?
I don't think so. I think they've.
Because you can't even be like, well, if you look at it, like Vegas has had more guys hurt recent. Vegas also won a cup, so we can't shut
Yeah.
up.
It's like if Vegas were also doing not great, then yeah, you can bring them up. But they've just won.
Yeah.
Go away. Leave us alone.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think he's a good coach there. I think surely it seems like the team and the players really like him. So I don't know. Good on you, Martin. I don't know.
Good for him.
Good for him. I just thought it was something very interesting because it was announced I can't remember, was it announced the same day that Buffalo announced that they were firing? I think it was the same day because I was like, wow, this is I think it was the same day. It was announced later that day though that it was like, oh, St. Louis is getting extended. And it was like, well, that's an interesting day to announce it.
So you just look around the league and you go, you know what I think I'm gonna tweet out today? I think we're gonna announce it.
That we're keeping our coach, unlike 8 other teams this season.
It's gone, yeah, if there's one thing we can do, we might not be able to win, but if there's one thing we can do, it's keep our coach.
Also, the last thing I have on here is just RIP BioSteel, as Body Armor has officially taken over as the official sports drink provider of the NHL, ending the BioSteel era. I don't know. End of an era. I don't even know what Body Armor is. I didn't even know what BioSteel was when they took over from Gatorade. I was like, what is this? What does this do? I wasn't a huge sports drink kind of person when I was doing sports competitively. It just was never something where I was like, maybe my mom would I don't know, buy me a big if I had a race, a ski race, on a weekend, she'd buy one of those big twisty cap Gatorade bottles, the ones with the sippy cap. Do you know which ones I'm talking about? Yeah, the fun ones. She'd buy me one of those as oh, because you have a race this weekend here, and she'd put it in my lunch bag, but it'd be the white Gatorade or orange, because those are my 2 favorite flavors.
Yeah.
You're disagreeing with. Are you agreeing with? Because usually people are like, no, but the blue one's the favorite. I'm like, no.
I never really went. I never really got on the whole sports drinks thing. The closest I've got to that is before, back when I played rugby, before I was injured. I could have gone pro.
You know how many guys have said that to me? Who've been like, if it wasn't for my knee, I could have played in the O.
I could have though.
Do you know how many guys said that to me? Guys who played hockey who were like, if it wasn't for my knee getting all busted up, would have gone to the O. I had I'm trying to think of I don't know, I'm saying I had the Pete's looking at me, could have been playing with Mason McTavish.
And it's like,
do you know how many times?
A lot. Yeah, no, but that's the thing. It's because I was having a very good season. It had been a good season for the whole team. We just won the league the year before, and then I broke my wrist in 2 places, which was not an enjoyable game or experience. Would not recommend. I especially wouldn't recommend it when you have no team physio and no first aid kit, which means no ice packs and no painkillers, at an away game where I then had to sit at the side of the pitch for 3 hours and then get a 4-hour bus home before I could go to A&E. Did not enjoy that. Would not recommend it. Don't do that.
Yeah, I don't think that's great either.
No, but yeah, back to what I was talking about. The closest I ever got to sports drinks was before every rugby game. Someone would buy a massive box of Red Bulls and we'd all just absolutely crush one on the bus and then go out, be absolutely feral, and then just nap afterwards.
Yeah, well, Red Bull's not. That's not exactly. Yeah,
No.
honestly,
Well,
no.
it's as
But
close as I ever got.
yeah, I like that's the thing is I wasn't a big sports drink. Like I don't know. Some people are. I was never. I was like water will
No.
suffice. Like when I don't know. I
Yeah.
played house league soccer, so like I was like, oh, I'll just bring my water bottle. Um, I can. You're giving me the look again when I say soccer.
I didn't even realize I was.
I'm not gonna be able to change it.
Okay.
You try calling it something one thing for your entire life, and then meet a single person that's like, should change that.
I'm not like advocating for you to change it. I'm just saying maybe you should rethink some of your choices.
Yeah, no, I'm good. But yeah, I don't even know if that's something I know nothing about Body Armor. I know they work with like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on the Toronto Blue Jays and also the hockey guys. That was a TikTok that happened. Very random.
Oh.
But like, I don't know. R.I.P. BioSteel. I guess, I think Body Armor is like also already working with like Connor McDavid, which like, okay, you get your free like sports like okay. But yeah, so I don't know. That was just something I should say because I don't know. People get confused, being like, why is there like what happened to the BioSteel bottles?
Mm. And speaking about the end of an era, the Tops Skate
Oh, I
NHL card
forgot about
trading
Tops.
is no more. And I, for one, am very devastated
It's
because I
yeah.
have built up quite a collection of Joseph Fall cards. And let me just consult the app that I can still whilst I still can.
Are you gonna count them or are you gonna list off what they are? Are you just gonna count them? If not, because I was gonna say my thoughts on it because Tops is owned by Fanatics, right? Fanatics next year will own the full merchandising rights to the NHL in terms of the fact that they will be producing their jerseys. Something I am very, very scared about considering I watch Major League Baseball. We've talked about it on this show. And now, like, you're telling me they couldn't even like keep the licensing rights to their virtual trading card app? And I feel really bad because I feel really bad for the people who like can't afford to spend money on physical cards, or it's hard for them to collect physical cards where they live because they live somewhere where they're just hard to access. And so therefore they really enjoy the Tops app because it allows them to collect hockey cards of their favorite players without spending a dime. Like it's a free app to use. Sometimes you can pay for in-app purchases, but essentially at the end of the day, it's free. It's free to collect hockey cards. So it's really a shame. How many Joseph Bull cards do you have?
Right, okay, so within the entire app, there are 32 Joseph Fall cards. I have all of them except 6, and I think 2 of which no one on the app has them. That is a big achievement of mine, and what I have spent a year working towards now.
I do remember that Tops, like last year, Top Skate, that was like the off season. That was everyone's off season activity, was getting into the Skate app
Okay,
and
so
getting into these virtual trading cards. I still have the app downloaded. I haven't opened it in months, but I still have the app downloaded.
so 4 of these cards are legendary cards. 2 of them no one in the world has, so I can't even attempt to get them. 2 of them only one person has them, which means I'm never getting it. Another legendary one there are 7 of. So I'm taking my 26 of 32 as a bigger victory than most people would, because 4 of those cards I'm never going to get. Which technically leaves it down to 2 cards that I could have that I don't, that I am currently working towards. I have many offers in for these ones at the moment. I've set some trades up. I'm just waiting on responses. I will complete my collection, Emma.
So full of cards. Well, I guess with that being said, we'll end it here. It's been a hefty episode.
Jesus.
And a hefty
Just in a
episode,
long-
but that's what happens when you move up the start of the playoffs and force us to do all of our playoff preview in the same episode as all of our end of regular season stuff. And then also when you decide to move a franchise to Utah.
And as well, I suppose time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies when you're having fun, and I hope you had fun listening to this one. Enjoy the first games of the 2023-2024 playoffs. Hopefully, the Leafs play well.
Please.
Fingers crossed. And we will be back on Monday to discuss the first weekend of NHL playoff games and recap all that. And looking forward to it. We get to talk about playoff hockey. Woohoo!
Oh, yeah.
So thank you so much for listening. You can find the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow the show on Twitter at From the Fourth Line. That's fourth with the number 4TH. You can follow Marcie on Twitter at 6Leafs. You can follow me on Twitter at PearB1. I almost said those backwards. You'd find us anyways. It's not hard to find us if you find one of us.
If you find one of us, just check the replies to the most recent tweet and we'll be there.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. And we will see you all on Monday. Go Leafs, go!